Good morning, everybody. We're going to be looking at chord voicings, the chords that we looked at last week, and moving them around the fretboard so that you can see that these shapes and these patterns of intervals do, in fact, do a very good job of allowing us to move our chords around and build them fairly quickly. Now, I'm going to be making the PDF here live on air. After I'm done, I'm going to upload this to the dojo, so if you're one of the dojo members, you can go into the membership area, download the PDF. I'll also include a little bit of a quiz in there as well, maybe a little bit more than a little bit of one, depending on how many questions I put in there. I think this stuff, it really helps to drill this stuff a lot. This is one of those things where the concept is not that difficult, but knowing it in every key tends to become difficult. So before we get started, I want to review the voicings. Also, if this stuff is a little confusing in terms of, I'm going to be talking about intervals and things like that, there's a little bit of a prerequisite, of course, for these live streams. So check out my hour-long music theory video if you need to, or music theory in one lesson on Amazon or my website, which you can find the link below. So to start, we have 5 basic voicings for every single chord. And those voicings can be altered to basically create any chord that you want. Now, in order to go about that process, you have to know the voicings and you have to know them very, very well. Traditionally, this is presented as what is referred to as the caged method, where they take the voicing, they say, all right, this is the C in our open position and the A in open position, etc., etc., and then they move those around. However, for this method, I have changed the voicings to numbers because there's some really great patterns that are a little bit more apparent when you change them to numbers. So understand that this is based off of the cage system, but I'm adapting it so that we can use it better for notation and eventually better for improvisation, where we actually pay attention to our voice leading. Okay, so just to review, our voicing 1 is 2 stacks of thirds, a fourth, and another third. So this C up to E is a third, E up to G is a third, G up to C is a fourth, and C up to E is another third. Now this is a major chord, so we get major third, minor third, perfect fourth, major third, and we want to add another note, that'd be another minor third. Voicing 2, and in this case we're using A minor because I'm trying to show you the cage method. So starting with C, then going to the A, so we have perfect fifth, perfect fourth, third, third. So fifth, fourth, third, third for voicing 2. We move forward for voicing number 3. We're going to get third, third, fourth, third, and sixth. If you guys are just joining in, go ahead and let me know that you're joining in the chat there so that we can all talk and make this a very interactive experience. We're moving on to voicing 4, then we're going to talk about voicing 5. So voicing 4 is a fifth, a fourth, a third, another third, and another fourth after that. And voicing 5, of course, is our fifth, fourth, and third. So lots of fifths, fourths, and thirds. So knowing your fifths, fourths, and thirds on the fretboard is very, very important. Moving forward, we're going to be quizzing all of the intervals every morning and a lot of these chords every morning. But we need to know this basic knowledge first. So join in every weekday because we will be quizzing these intervals and you will know these intervals if you stick with it. Okay, so I want to examine all of our chords in first position. So we did this a little bit last week, but in order to move forward with good footing, a little bit of a review is in order here. So our 1 chord, of course, is based off of the root note C. We're doing all of this in the key of C for a little while. So here is C major voicing number 1, right? So we have 3s, a 4, and another 3. So 3, 3, 4, 3. Now, when we go to D minor, our 2 chord, which is built off of the 2nd scale degree. Good morning, drummer in the park. No surprise seeing you here. That's definitely a good thing. Let us know you have any questions going along here. So our voicing number 5 for D minor is 5th, 4th, and 3rd. okay? Voicing number 3, E minor, or sorry, voicing 4 for E minor is 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th, right? And we're going to do another voicing 4 for F major. We have 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th. And you'll notice that voicing between E minor and F major, it looks pretty similar on the staff paper here, right? This shape, not is it only movable on the fretboard, but it's movable on the staff paper. Our 5th chord, G major, we're doing voicing number 3 here for first position. So we get 3, 3, 4, 3, 6. And that type of voicing is going to stay the same as we move up the fretboard. Okay, our 6th chord, the A minor, we already went through that just a moment ago, so that was voicing 2. Our 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd voicing, and 7 diminished, B diminished. This is also voicing 2. The 7 chord, we're going to kind of swap between voicings here, and the voicing on the screen is, you can't necessarily get all these to ring out at once unless I wanted to change this F sharp, or say this F natural down to a D there. But what I might do is just leave it there and just understand that it's going to be tough to get all of those to ring at once. And in fact, it's much more common to see these diminished chords on the guitar with 7ths added onto them. It actually makes it easier to play with a 7th, or just as a triad and first inversion. And we're going to get to that type of stuff. But just know that this B diminished chord, right, these are gnarly sounding chords. They're only meant to make the other chords sound prettier and add good tension. Put an asterisk next to our diminished chords, because we will be talking about those further, and I will show you how to deal with them. Now, our next task is to move up to the next scale shape that we look. So these are the chords for the first scale shape. Now, if you remember from my first live stream, if you haven't seen that, go ahead and take a look at it, the 5 C major scale shapes. We're going to move up to the second scale shape, and you're going to see that some patterns start to surface with moving these chords. So the first thing I want to draw to your attention, and this is a fairly new light bulb on my end, now that I'm writing a book on chord construction for guitar, and these live streams are part of my way of going through these and trying to find as many patterns as I can so that I can point them out to my students. Notice as we start to move forward with our Roman numerals, our chords, we actually start moving backwards through the voicing numbers. So we go voicing 1 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2, right? And that holds true as we move forward. So check this out. As we move forward to scale shape 2, we're going to be using voicing 2 for C major. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab voicing 2, right? You look at it, that's 5, 4, 3, 3, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to enter my C. That's my root note of where we're going to build this thing. So let me grab my whole note, C, right? And we're doing 5, 4, and 3, right? And we can actually add another 3 there. So what do we get here? Well, C, right, a 5th, that's my 5th, my shape of a perfect 5th on the fretboard here. Then we get 4, we get 3, and another 3, right? And you'll see that we're actually, here is the C major chord form for our second scale pattern up here in a higher position. And if you notice, it looks a lot like the shape has changed to what we were using for A minor from before. So let's call this voicing 2. Now, can anybody tell me in the chat below what voicing they think D is going to use, D minor here? Remember, these go backwards as you go forwards in Roman numerals. So that's going to say voicing 1. Okay? Second chord is going to get voicing 1. And if you remember it from up here, voicing 1 goes 3rd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. Okay, well let's get our root note here, the D, and do So we got third, third, fourth, and third. Now, these are somewhat difficult on the hand in terms of minor chords for voicing one. Because what you're gonna get is your third here, another third, and then that fourth. Like, you've got to have a pretty long pinky to get this thing to work. So if you're not super good at it yet, don't worry. It helps to have your pinky kind of set up and to be stretching with these fingers rather than your pinky, or you can stretch with your pinky. And then getting this third. So we have third, third, fourth, third, right? And that's voicing two. And if you look at it, the shape that it has on the staff is the same shape that we had for voicing one with C major up here. JOJ says, good afternoon from London. Well, good morning from beautiful Colorado, my friend. All right. So if we look here, the voicing is going to change between the 2 and the 3, right? So we have voicing 4 for our third chord there. Now, if we're going backwards with our voicings, right, what voicing would that give us for our E minor chord here? Take a few moments to, and if you want to try and give me the answer down in the chat, that'd be really great. Good evening from India, Jakas. This is great. We've got people from all over the world. Let us know where you're at, drummer of the park. Where are you coming from? So we have our voicing number 5. Oops, I set that as root note D. Let's set that as root note E. Silly me. These being live, you will run into mistakes here and there. So that gives us 5, 4, right? 5, 4, 3, right? So we have E, the shape of a 5th here, right? The shape of a 4th, and then, and if we want this to be the minor shape, we're gonna have to use G natural, right? So here is our 5th voicing for E minor. So we have shape of a 5, right? Shape of a 4, and then shape of a minor 3rd. So we've just built that chord using a different voicing, moving it up, right? So we have voicing 5. These are moving backwards. Now, if you noticed, 3 and 4 had the same kind of voicing, right? Just a different root on the last example. So we're going to do the same thing here, right? And it goes 5, 4, 3. So we have 5, 4, 3, and that same shape just gets moved up to the F here, right? But this one's F major, right? So the intervals inside of there change a little bit. This is the minor, this is E minor, and to get up to F major, we have a different construction of thirds, so that changes just a little bit. Oh, we got someone from Holland as well. That's cool. Very cool. So now we have the same voicing, but what's the deal with the fingerings looking just slightly different? Again, it's E minor versus F major. So when we're building chords, and we're doing the third, third, fourth type of method, when you're building a minor chord, you start with a minor third, then you go to a major third, and then you go up, right? So from the root, we're going to have minor thirds. So our root here with the E minor shape was here with the pinky as well as the index. And that minor third shape up to the G looks like that. But if we have the same thing, here's our root for the F major shape. Our third is a major third from the root. So it's a little bit different of a shape, but the shape on the paper looks the same. And this is, eventually you're going to realize this is why key signatures tend to be of absolute utmost importance going through this type of stuff. So that's another voicing 5. Cool, drummer from the park is from India. We've got an awesome group of people from around the world already. I'm only on week 2, guys. It's already international. This is cool. Okay, so we are moving on to the 5th chord. So what chord is this? What's the root, and what shape are we going to be using? Well, since we're going backwards in voicings when we're moving forward in Roman numerals, this is going to give us voicing 4, starting on G, giving us a G major chord. All right. So if you recall, voicing 4 starts from the root. Let me grab my whole note here. Whole note. There we go. All right. So voicing 4 goes 5th, 4th, 3rd, third, fourth, right? So if we're going G, a fifth up to D, here's that fifth power chord shape. Fourths right on top of each other, major third, minor third, and fourth. There is my voicing number 4 for G. So using the second scale shape for C major gives us voicing 4 for G. Okay, moving forward, we're going to get a 6th chord, right? So we get A as our root. Now, can anybody take a guess what voicing number we are going to be using for this? Take a wild guess. If we look up here, what are we going to be using? Anybody guess down in the chat? We have voicing number 3. So this goes 3, 3, 4, right? 3, and 6. Now this is a heck of a stretch as well, so take care when doing this chord. It's a heck of a stretch, just like with a lot of the voicing, the minor chords are a little trickier on the hand. So let's run through this kind of one step at a time, okay? So if we're taking this voicing, we're going to grab our A here, right? We're going to get a third up to C, a third up to E, and then a fourth up to A. Now here's the issue with playing these all at once. So you can get, oops, I have major. We can get these all at once, but now this third needs to be minor, right? So there are some limitations with these, and I'm going to show you how to pick out smaller shapes from within the big shape so that you can make more playable chords here. But that is the intervallic structure of our 6th chord in this position for C major, right? So we're going to voicing 3. Okay, 7 diminished. Here's our kind of challenge question here. As with last time, so voicing stayed the same between the 6 and the 7. And that may change as we move up. The 7th scale degree is definitely the how do we say, kind of the special case, if that makes sense. And I think it does make good sense. We're going to be actually using, I think it would be better to use voicing probably 2 for this one, which is, remember voicing 2, we had a C major here, right? So voicing 2 is going to look a little different for diminished, because diminished, just the intervallic structure is a lot different. So we have, let me write this on the staff for you first. So it's like that. So remember, voicing 2, if you recall, sorry, sometimes Sibelius tries to make my time easier by sending me around the score as I click. Okay, so if you recall, voicing 2 started off with a 5th. Now, in this case, it is not exactly a perfect 5th we're looking for, right? Because this is a diminished, and again, put an asterisk next to these. I'm going to talk more about diminished chords in future live streams. So we have B to F. That's our diminished 5th. It's not a perfect 5th, right? This is a diminished chord. And then that is going to be an augmented 4th back up to B. Now we have 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 3rd, right? So we get bum, 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 bum. What a gnarly sounding chord. It sounds a lot better when you are actually using it to decorate other chords. But to stay in line here, we have 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd for that shape. And as you can see, you can move it around your fretboard, just like so. So here's shape number 2, and we got all our voicings straight. Again, the 7th chord is a little bit of a special case for this stuff. Now, here's a couple other things to keep in mind as you're doing this. As we moved up, C started with voicing 1. Now it's on voicing 2. You can take a guess. Next is going to be voicing 3. And all of these are going to move forward 1. So a couple of patterns to really keep on the top of your mind. And these are new-ish light bulbs for me as I've started to deconstruct this stuff to put it together in a book that makes it very, very simple to understand. As you're moving forward in Roman numerals, you're going to move backwards in voicing numbers. And as you're moving forward in position numbers, your voicing numbers are going to move forward in respect to the root of the chord. So in this case, C was voicing 2. Take a wild guess what it's going to be next. It's going to be voicing number 3. The one chord is going to have voicing number 3 and scale shape number 3. So let's grab our root here, right? And if we recall that our intervallic structure goes 3, 3, 4, 3, 6 for C major. So let's just give that a little test. So our C here, you're going to grab it up on the low E string on the 8th fret. So our third, here's that first major third, minor third, perfect fourth, major third, and then a 6. So you can actually, the major chords are a little bit easier to play than the minors in terms of these shapes, right? It's a bit of a stretchy bar to get it, but again, a lot of this stuff comes in handy when you when you're kind of getting portions of these chords. You know, fingerstyle guitar and classical guitar especially, we really celebrate not having to play all 6 strings all the time. And in fact, when people play all 6 strings all the time, it gets a little annoying, to be quite frank. So you're going to want to be able to recognize these voicings and also recognize pieces of these voicings, which the last half of this lesson, if we have the time, I always think I can cover more than I actually can in these lessons. If we have the time, we're going to quiz them, and if we don't have the time, we're going to quiz them tomorrow because they need to be quizzed. Okay, so we're moving on to our 2 chord. So with these general logical rules, right, voicing 3, if we're moving forward to the voicing, the 2 chord, this is probably going to be voicing 4, right? So let's review voicing 4. If you look, voicing 4, what do we have? 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, and 4th. Well, that also works for the D chord. Right, so if we're starting here, and actually, hold on just a moment. I think D chord, my bad, we're going backwards. My mistake. Voicing 2, I thought something seemed a little fishy about that. Okay, so voicing 2, we have 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd. So D, we have our 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, right? So we'd start with our D here, and we'd grab our perfect 5th shape, 3rd finger, 4th for the pinky, 3rd, 3rd. And that's how that voicing works for shape 3. You are very, 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 very welcome, Jockas. I'm super happy to be on here teaching every morning. And one of the great secrets of being a teacher is that every time I get up to teach this stuff, I get better too. So I'm super happy to help because I'm trying to get better as well, just like everybody else. Okay, so our 2 chord D minor is using voicing 2 here. Next, we're going to be moving to our 3 chord, which, you guessed it, voicing 1. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab our E right here, okay? And if you recall, voicing 1 goes 3, 3, 4, and then 3, right? So in this case, again, this is a minor chord, so the fingering can get a little trickier, even though the frets have gotten a little smaller up here, so it's a little easier to play. It's still kind of a stretcher, so we're going to take these notes one at a time. So we got 3rd, 3rd, 4th, 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 and 3rd, right? So we get that's our E minor chord. You look, the shape is still the same as you go forward. We had that with our D minor shape here, right? It looks exactly the same on the fretboard in terms of shape from the starting point, and it looks almost exactly the same on the staff too. So lo and behold, right? So that is our voicing number 1 for our 3 chord. And our 4 chord is going to share the same kind of voicing, right? Except we're moving the root. And of course, the shape is on the fretboard is going to look slightly different because we're dealing with a major chord here, right? So the same thing goes. So we were just here building our E minor chord. We're just going to move our pinky up that half step to grab the F, right? And now what we have is major third, then minor third, then perfect fourth, and another major third, which makes this a lot easier. This is that classic C shape with a bar chord that you see a lot from the caged method. Okay, moving forward, we're going to get voicing 5 for the 5 chord. Again, voicing 5 because we're going backwards in voicings as we're moving forwards in Roman numerals. So voicing 5 starts with G, right? And then we have 5, 4, and 3. 5th, 4th, 3rd. That's a pretty simple thing to memorize for this. So 5th, 4th, 3rd. Those are G chord, right? That's voicing number 5. It's a good observation that you have there, Drummer in the Park. So real quick, let me expound on the Drummer in the Park said he went through my hour-long music theory video, which awesome, man. Everybody that has not seen it, please take a look because it's going to help with these lessons quite a bit. And he said he learned perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and the octave were the same. And kinda, sort of. So let me expound on that a little bit because this helps with the lesson. A perfect fifth is not the same as a perfect fourth, but they are inversions of each other, right? So if we get a perfect fifth up from G, we get D. And then a perfect fourth up from D is a perfect fourth, and those added together make an octave, which is a really cool thing to know. So keep paying attention, Drummer of the Park. We're gonna talk a little bit more in terms of triads and stuff as we go. And these are all actually triads. So our G major chord, for example, those are just G, B, and D. They're just not all stacked so nicely as you saw in the music theory video from before, where I lay things out very nicely. The guitar is a little bit trickier of an instrument in terms of getting your triad to look nice and pretty on the fretboard. So. All right, so we're moving on to our 6th chord, which is A minor. Now we're going backwards in voicings, right? 5 and 6 do not use the same voicing. We're still going backwards. So this is going to give us voicing 4 for A minor, right? And that we will take our root and we get 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th. So A, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th. Boom. Right, and that is this chord, the A minor that a lot of people play. Right, so this is 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th. Now on to our B diminished. Now, are we going to use the same voicing as the A? I think it's probably a good choice to do that. But honestly, voicing 3 seems to be the best way to go on this. Remember, this is our wild card. The 7 diminished chord is kind of a wild card in all the voicings. So let's use voicing 3 here. And what that gives us, sorry, this thing always tries to say, hey, let me help you move around the score so you can work easier, and it does not make my work easier. Let me get this back in line here. Okay. Cool. So the voicing for that, for voicing 3, goes 3, 3, 4, 3, 6. So we have 3, 3, 4, 3, 6. Okay. So starting on B here, we get 3, and these are all minor thirds. So there's gonna have to be some stretching going on here, right? 3, 4, and then we have another 3, and then another 6. So that's the same voicing. That's how we're going to be building that B diminished chord in this key here. So let's move to the next page. All right, we've got 2 more scale shapes to go. Or actually, sorry, my apologies. Do we have 2? Or is it? We just did scale shape 3. Sorry. Okay, cool. These are live music lessons, folks, so expect that I might have a couple stumblings. All right, guys. So scale shape 4 means we're starting with voicing 4 for our 1 chord. Now voicing 4, if we remember, goes 5, 4, oopsies, then 3, 3, 4. 5, 4, 3, 3, 4. Let me get that. Okay, there we go. Now, if we're doing this on C major, here we have it. We have 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th. Now, if we're going forwards in Roman numerals, of course, that's going to take us backwards in terms of our voicing. So voicing 3 for D minor. And if you recall, voicing 3 goes 3, 3, 4, 3, 6, right? So we get 3, 3, 4, 3, 6, right? And if we're doing that from D minor, we get 3, 3, 4, 3, 6. Learning these intervals is so important. Knowing your thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths. It's just about everything. And we're going to do a lot of drilling of the intervals this week. Okay, so we're still going backwards in voicing. So our 3 chord is going to be voicing number 2. And of course, the 4 chord is going to mirror the 3 chord because they're only a half step apart, right? So our 3 chord is voicing 2. And if you recall, voicing 2 goes 5, 4, 3, 3. So E, 5, 4, 3, 3, right? So we start with our E, and this is actually going to be kind of like the, the bar chord looking thing. So we have E, 5, 4, 3, 3, E minor, right? And if we want to do the same thing to get F major, we're going to move this up and turn it into the major fingering, right? So we're going to take the same idea, right? 5, 4, 3, 3 for F. That's going to take us up here to F. That's going to give us our voicing. Now voicing 5 is going to use shape 1. Or sorry, G is going to use voicing 5. I don't even know what I said. Voicing 5 is shape 1. G, our 5th chord, is going to use the 5th voicing. Or sorry, the 1st voicing. That is what I meant. Voicing 1, which goes from G, we have 3, 3, 4, 3, right? So if we grab our G here, here's the G, we get 3, 3, 4, 4, 3. So 3, 3, 4, 3. Voicing 6, or sorry, chord 6 is going to use voicing 5. So that is 5, 4, and 3. Five, 4, and 3, starting on the root of A. So if we want to find that, we get a root A here, right? We get 5, 4, and 3 for our A minor chord. And it's nice you can throw the open A in there because A minor, open A, that's a really pretty chord. So cool. All right, now moving on to 7 diminished. What should we use for 7 diminished? I would probably use voicing 5 for this one or voicing 1. Maybe voicing 4. What do we want to do voicing 4? Yeah, voicing 4 is the way to go. Let's use voicing 4. Okay, so voicing 4, if you recall, we go 5. So from B, move me around again. 5, 4, and then we get 3, 3, 4, right? But this being a diminished chord, it's definitely a special looking shape. So let's go through this one step at a time. We have a diminished 5th, an augmented 4th, a minor 3rd, another minor 3rd, and then an augmented 4th to get back up to our B. So let's run through that one more time. So we have diminished 5th, augmented 4th, minor 3rd, minor 3rd, and then, of course, our 4th. augmented to get back, right? So there's the first 4 scale positions. Let's dive in on this last one and start quizzing some triads here. So of course, this being our 5th scale position, it's probably going to be voicing 5 that we start with here. So we start with our root, which is our C up here, right? And we get 5, 4, 3. So root to a 5th, to a 4th, and to another 3. There's our C major up there using voicing number 5. If we're moving on to the 2nd chord of this key, we're going to be using voicing 4. Remember, we're going backwards in voicing numbers as we go forwards in Roman numerals, right? So voicing 4 for D minor. We're going to start with the D down here. If you remember, voicing 4 goes 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, right? So root of D here, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, and 4th. 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, 4th. Okay, so we're moving on to our 3 chord, which is going to be voicing 3. And if you recall, voicing 3, we start with this. We go 3rd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, 6th. Right? And we're actually grabbing this from the 12th fret of the high E. This is my classical guitar, so getting high up on the neck, it's a little harder to play. So we're going root, 3rd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, and then another, 6th. What am I thinking? So root, 3rd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, 6th. That gives us our E minor up there. We're going to be moving to our 4 chord, which uses the same exact voicing 3. So we get 3, 3, 4, 3, 6, right? But moving it all half step up. And we're going to major shapes, right? So we get root, major 3rd, minor 3rd, perfect 4th, and then major 3rd, and then a 6th up top. Let me know if you guys want tablature as well for this. I might be willing to do that for some of the chord shape type of stuff. So let's put in voicing 3, voicing 3. Okay. Next, we're moving to the 5th chord, which is going to give us voicing 2, of course. Now, if you'll recall, voicing 2, we get 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd. So 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, right? And if we find our G, here the root, we go 5th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd. Okay, next our 6th chord. We'll be using voicing 1 for the 6th chord. So let me, is it voicing 1 that we're using? Or voicing 2. Let's take a look. So A. I'm tempted to use voicing 2, but yeah, let's use voicing 1. So we get 3, 3, 4, 3, 3. Remember, voicing 1 is 3, 3, 4, 3, 3. Or 3, 3, 4, 3, rather. Voicing 1. So, pinky of the 12th fret for my A, that root, right? We get up a 3rd, up a 3rd, up a 4th, up a 4th, and up another 3rd, right? So we get from the root 3rd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd. And our diminished chord, let's use voicing 5 for this one. We're going to keep going backwards on that one. Again, the diminished chords are kind of an asterisk. You're going to run into these a lot of the times in an inversion or using a seventh in there. So just using the triad, you know, we'll see. But I'd like to use voicing 5 for this one. So we get 5, 4, and 3, right? So if we catch our B here, right, we want a diminished fifth up. So this is a diminished chord, so diminished fifth up, right, and then an augmented fourth up, and then a minor third, right? So we have this kind of shape. So there are all our voicings for these. These work in different keys, guys. These patterns hold through in all of the keys. Now what you need to do, and what we're all going to do together here on the screen, is quiz these voicings and quiz where to find these. And I think we're going to start handling that tomorrow. Today's live stream, I really wanted to just focus on finding the voices. I'm going to upload this PDF to the members area of my website, as well as upload it to the Fretboard Dojo private Facebook group. Of course, you're only allowed in the private Facebook group as a paying member of my website. Sorry to any of the freebie seekers. I put all these lessons out for free because that is my promise to the world. I'm going to be spreading free music education until my dying breath. However, I do need your support to do it. So if you guys want the print-offs and all of that, you can check out the Fretboard Dojo membership plans down below. That is extremely helpful. It's of course going to include long quizzes that you can print off and take on the airplane if you need. Or to the doctor's office or anywhere where you're waiting around, you can sit down and fill out these quizzes and know your fretboard a bit better. Something I'd like to get from you guys is a suggestion on what to do at the end of the live stream tomorrow. So at the beginning, I want to quiz these chords. I want to quiz, first off, what's the root, what's the chord name, and what's the voicing number, and how can we play this voicing all over the neck. That's going to be very, very helpful, especially for those of you looking to get better at sight reading. ERT says, hello. We're right at the end of the live stream here, but definitely once this live stream goes offline, you can get onto YouTube and check out the replay. There's a lot of information in this lesson here. I'm also going to be making an animated version of Chord Construction, my book that I'm working on. Of course, it's going to be one of those nice long videos that you see on my channel where I take a lot of time to animate things and do things very clearly. This is a live setting, so what I'm sitting down to do really is to sit down and talk about ideas with you and drill these. Next week, there's going to be a little bit more of a format to these. I wanted to do it this week, but my publisher really wants me to finish these recordings, so over the last 3 weeks, I've recorded more than 25 classical guitar pieces for my book coming out with fundamental changes. Should be out in about a week and a half or so, depending on how quickly I get to these recordings. So I have to take a little less time to prepare for these in the morning until that task is done. Being a working musician is hard work, I will tell you. So please, guys, if you have any questions, leave them down in the chat. I'm going to take a look at Drummer in the Park's question. Okay, so real quick, I want to explain something to Drummer in the Park about how you get a major chord versus a minor chord. So in C major, if you're building your triads, you're going to get minor chords. The 2, the 3, and the 6 are always going to be minor. Always. Every single major key. There's just no way around it, right? And let me explain that to how that works. And I'm going to explain it by doing some intervals all on one string. Now, if we think about our first triad in C major, we have C, E, G, right? So C to E is 2 whole steps in music, which equal 4 frets. So here's our first fret, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th up from there, counting this one as quote-unquote 0. And then E to G is 3 frets, right? So we have this kind of offset. We get 4th fret, 3 frets, right? Now, if we were to do the same thing but start on D, which is going to give us the minor chord, D to F is actually 3 frets, and then F to A is 4. So those 2 things are offset because of what notes are already in the scale. So C to E has major third followed by minor third. And then D to F is minor third, followed by major third for our D minor chord. So those are the patterns that occur inside of the scale already. Now, how does this translate to these types of chords? Well, C to E, that's a major third, or equal to 2 whole steps, or really 4 frets if we kept it on the same string. And yes, these 2 E's are playing 2 notes, and they sound like one, so they're the same note. But if we did the same thing with D, we'd get this shape, the minor third shape. So we have C to E, and then D minor is D to F. Did you hear that? They sound different. And that's just because of the notes that are in the key. Right? And if we wanted to do 1, 3, 5, so C, E, G, the C major triad right there, right? And we can pretend that my index is here, back there, that white thing. You can always pretend that's a finger for the sake of visualizing shapes on your fretboard, right? I'm going to bring this up, and you get a little bit of a different feel for the chord. So this is our C major chord, and then this is our D minor chord, right? These are both using our shape 1 in terms of voicings. For those of you that are just joining in, I had a live stream last week where I introduced the voicing shapes. In this live stream, I go through them. I actually wanted to use this live stream to write a little bit of my book, so hadn't had this stuff really worked out beforehand, but we went through it and we found all the shapes that we want to use in every single position. We also found some really, really, really cool relationships between the shapes and moving through a key, and we're going to expound on those further this week. But understand that when you are building triads within a key, you're going to get a mix of major, minor, and diminished chords because of the spacing in the notes there. Right? The spacing is a little bit different. Does anybody have any other questions before I head off for the day and get to practicing? I've got some Louis Milan to record today, as well as a few Carcassi etudes for my book. Another viewer from India. Awesome. I have a pretty big following in India. It's pretty. That's one of my favorite things about doing this. So I get to talk with people from all around the world, but specifically, all my Indian students are just awesome people. So Samrat asks, he needs a guide or tips for memorizing all the notes all over the fretboard. Here's the best way to do it, and I do this a little bit with our live streams. I go to musictheory.net, and I find the note drilling exercise. I may start off tomorrow's live stream by doing a little bit of that, Samrat, if you want to drop in right when it starts. It flashes a note up on the screen. I try, at least for now for the live streams, I'm keeping it within the key of C major, and I'm finding them all over the fretboard. So if you need some help with that, Samrat, go to look at my first live stream. I did it last week. It's Music Theory Calisthenics episode 1, and I actually go through finding notes all over the fretboard there. Yes, Drummer in the Park. So Drummer in the Park asks, well, what about if we're playing in a minor key? Are there major chords in there as well? The answer is yes. All these keys, they mix major and minor chords. So the way that this works, and we will go through this, but I'll just give you just kind of a rough outline of how this works. In minor, the first chord's minor, the second chord is diminished, the third chord is major, fourth chord is minor, fifth chord is minor, 6 and 7 are both major. And actually, in minor, we have a little bit more leeway to borrow and stuff right off from the beginning, so we'll actually alter whether or not those chords are major or minor. Every good musician knows how to alter chords that are major and minor. So I'm going to close off with this idea. This is for Drummer in the Park specifically, and anybody that benefits from this piece of advice. I have a lot of students that do actually benefit from this piece of advice. You can create major and minor chords based off of knowing where all your major chords are. So, for example, okay, I have a basic major shape here. You'll recognize this as the lowest 3 notes of shape number 3, right? And what I have here, and actually I'll go ahead and make it a B flat major chord. No, let's make it a B major chord. A little easier for us to think about as guitar players. So B major. If I want to make this B major minor, I'm going to take this middle note and I'm going to move it down in pitch by a half step. And if I want to take this minor chord and make it diminished, I'm going to take that top note and move it down by a half step. So So knowing how to transform chords is very, very helpful on not only reading music, but kind of improvising through things. Take a look at that. Tomorrow's live stream, we're going to quiz more chords. We're also going to quiz some notes for Samrat. It's definitely something that I am always trying to get all of my students to do pretty much all the time. You got to know where the notes are. If you don't know where the notes are, difficult to play. It also helps with reading music quite a bit, guys. Also, here's another announcement. Once I am done with all the recordings for my next classical guitar book, which is coming out through Fundamental Changes in about a week and a half, I can start resuming making my classical guitar videos. My goal, I'm going to put a lot of Fernando Sor and Mauro Giuliani up this year. They are great exercises for anybody looking to get good at fingerstyle or classical guitar. They are just beautiful where, you know, Fernando Sor's pieces I think are better than Mauro Giuliani's musically speaking. They teach you to deal with voicings and dynamics really well. Whereas Mauro Giuliani's pieces, I'm not as big of a fan of them in terms of how they sound, even though he's got some really good ones. But he's got some etudes that really, you got to move your fingers pretty fast. He was all about kind of like fireworks and that type of stuff. So we're going to be putting up some of those to help you guys move around on this guitar quite a bit. I have some classical guitar lessons already up, and if you guys have any requests, be sure to leave them down in the chat. All right, guys, I'm going to sit here awkwardly for about 10 seconds until I see that my live stream has caught up to me in real person. Then I'm going to cut it, and I will see you guys tomorrow.